Eclipse's Flames of Combat, or EFOC, is an upcoming in-dev Roblox Jojo game. If you've ever been in the Roblox Jojo space, you've probably heard of this guy before. After a few years of criticizing many other games, he went and made a game himself to show what he would want in a game like these. Now, you can tell by the footage that, currently, anything related to what your eyes see is horrendous horseshit. This is because they've worked almost entirely on actual gameplay so far to let testers experience how it would be, rather than something that only looks cool. Now you're thinking, is it actually fun? Well, I would personally say that yeah, I was enjoying it the whole time I was playing. Anyways, I'll be sharing my thoughts on everything that was available in the playtest. Also, take a lot of this with a grain of salt, as it is of course very early in development. I'll start by talking about how builds work. There are three components to how you make a build. You have a stand, a weapon, and player. Stands in this game each have 5 moves, and each of those moves have 3 different variants, but I'll talk about variants a little later. Each weapon in the game carries just 2 moves to prevent having to reach super far across your keyboard considering the moves you have also with your stand, though I think 3 per weapon would have been a lot better. Finally, you have your player's tree. Your player tree allows you to upgrade your health, regen, block, and dash. When you max out one of these, you'll be able to lock its corresponding move. You're only able to unlock one move from the player tree, however. Also, if I'm being honest, I don't think any of the player moves are really all that good except for Fortify. Anyways, this allows each player to have 8 moves in total, excluding the Barrage and Heavy Punch. Now, along with stands being the main thing that makes the variety, every move excluding player moves can be upgraded. The reason I mention this usually basic fact is because on the final upgrade, the move changes certain properties that can make it quite different. Sometimes things like Vampire's Life Freeze will get significantly stronger, going from a 30% slow debuff to a 50%. Other things like beatdowns will become uncancelable, allowing you to throw them out unexpectedly. Well, I think those are neat, especially since this causes the way people go about their build very differently, as you cannot max everything. There's one thing I have to suggest here. As it stands, you can only see what the next upgrade for your move will be. What I propose is a list, or a button that shows you a list of each upgrade for that move, or at the very least, the final upgrade. With a way to know what the final upgrade does, the way you go about your build may change drastically, as you may learn that a move you initially didn't care much for will be very interesting or significantly impactful. As I mentioned earlier, each move on your stand carries 3 variants that you can choose from. Initially, you are only able to unlock one variant of each move. However, after increasing your stand's mastery, another thing I'll mention later, you're able to unlock multiple variants of one move, though it will consume one of your 5 move points and therefore prevent you from unlocking other moves entirely. The idea is quite neat, but this creates 2 issues. Firstly, sometimes the variants are rather uncreative. Before I say more, I want to be clear. I understand that 15 moves can be very hard to come up with. That being said, I still think there are a lot of move variants that are lazy. For a good example of variants, Gold Experience had a Life Punch, and all 3 variants had their own use. One had a little stun, but debuffed the opponent and made them take more damage for a bit. One buffed the opponent, making them take reduced damage, but stunned them for quite a long time. The third one worked as a team-up move, healing and buffing the damage of your friend. Now, if you look at the world's Impale, it is very boring. One variant does less damage, but is faster, and one does more damage, but is slower. There are plenty of moves on certain stands just like this, with a light and fast version. Now yes, it is very uncreative, but you're probably thinking it's not much of a problem, and that 3 variants of a punch is very hard to come up with. Well, yes, generally hard, I still see it as necessary to actually keep things interesting, because really some stands don't get all 15 of those move variants. To tell you where this is genuinely a big problem is Whitesnake, with standstill having fast and heavy variants. If somebody whiffs the seal, they still have 2 more. They can also chain the seals together as well. Impale I can at least excuse a bit, but it really shouldn't be that hard for variants of Standstill. For example, Whitesnake could be able to utilize the memory disk, maybe locking the opponent to the last attacking move they used, though with a short cooldown. Another variant could take their stand from them, but give it to you, allowing you to use their ultimate move for free. There's more basic variants I could give suggestions on how to fix, but there's a low chance some of what I'm saying will even be cared for. And it's not my game, so I'm not going to do all the work. A lot of movesets were also just generally uninteresting and basic. Though I do think some interesting things would be a lot better, this is clearly a quantity over quality situation, and as for what the game is trying to be, I don't see that as absolutely awful, but I still stand by the fact that some variants for moves are rather unacceptable. There's also a problem with variety as well in certain cases, mostly just counters, but also for GR's return to 0. Basically, though you are able to unlock multiple variants, using one will put the others on cooldown anyways. I understand that 3 counters would be dumb, but having an illusion of choice is also dumb, as there's no point until unlocking them anyways. For moves like these, just disable them from unlocking the other variants in the first place. I locked a lot, not all, but most, of what was trying to be done here. Basically, your stand, weapon, and player all level up completely separately. However, their mastery may be increased to increase the level cap up to 50. The first mastery will allow your stand to use multiple variants of one move and can sometimes allow you to utilize an extra powerful move such as a beatdown. Though the level cap is reached after 3 mastery levels, you can increase the mastery twice more. Each mastery level also rewards you with 1 mastery point, which is really just another skill point. In total, you gain 15 extra skill points and 5 mastery points for you to use for your given ability. Now, the only issue I have here is those 2 last mastery levels. The first 3 increase the potential of your build by a significant margin, as you'll be able to have 6 more points per mastery, giving you 18 points total. The last 2 only give you 1 point each and nothing else. I understand wanting to create an option for dedicated players to min-max their build a little, but 2 more points is so extremely insignificant. They allow you to maybe upgrade one thing exclusively if you haven't upgraded it at all previously. How useful these would feel would be amplified by what is planned for the game, or dying in combat zones will cause you to lose half of your current levels. What I would rather have as the case would be for you to be awarded 3 points on your 3rd mastery upgrade as an extra good job reward for being dedicated to one ability. So the first thing I found interesting here was how everybody's health is quite low. This means to kill someone, you mainly just need a quick burst of enough damage. However, if you aren't able to secure the kill, your opponent will be able to step back for a moment and regen a good portion of their health, letting the fight continue. This can give players who are worse at the game a better chance to actually win. Now, this goes hand in hand with the balance of certain stands. Many stands were just blatantly overpowered. Though I do think many were unnecessarily strong, it didn't seem like a huge issue as some things were very fun to mess around with. For example, I made a build using the 3 revolver moves on D4C along with the revolver weapon that gave me 2 more revolver moves. Now though I had some criticism to share, as I said in the beginning, I did quite like the game. Well yes, possibly bullshit, the strong things were extremely funny sometimes, like the clones on D4C, especially in this clip with my friend. Oh my god! Most of the bad animations were boring, but there was one I don't think should ever be changed. That wraps up most of my thoughts on what they had so far, and I hope you enjoyed this video. But hey, Eclipse's Flames of Combat is funny, because until I've played my Eclipse's Flames of Combat, I don't give a